This is a chapter-by-chapter book review of Teaching with Poverty in Mind by Eric Jensen. In Chapter 1, we learn about understanding the nature of poverty. But what is poverty? According to Jensen, the definition of poverty can vary. However, according to his theory, poverty is a chronic and debilitating condition that results from multiple adverse, synergistic risk factors and affects the mind, body, and soul. There are 6 different types of poverty. There is situational poverty, which is always temporary and often caused by environmental disasters, divorce, or severe health problems. There is generational poverty, which is referred when at least 2 generations of a family have been born poor and cannot get away from their situation. There is absolute poverty, which occurs when a family cannot sustain its basic needs, like shelter, food, water, and electricity. Next is relative poverty, which is referred to the financial status of a family who cannot meet the standard of living because of insufficient income. Urban poverty occurs in metropolitan cities with a population of more than 50,000 people. Rural poverty occurs in non-metropolitan areas and populations of less than 50,000 people. Poverty can affect our students both at home and at school. However, poverty can affect them academically, socially, physically, and emotionally. This is why it's crucial for teachers to avoid labeling, demeaning, or blaming students. However, teachers should teach students by example. Many of our students who come from low-income families do not have a good role model at home to shape their problem behaviors. That is why it is important for us as teachers to step up and be a good role model for our students and make sure we show our students that we really care for them and that we are more than just teachers. Chapter 2: How Poverty Affects Behavior and Academic Performance. In this chapter, Jensen gives us the acronym EACH. E representing emotional and social challenges. A representing acute and chronic stressors. C representing cognitive lags. H representing health and safety. Jensen said that the understanding of those 4 challenges can assist teachers in helping their low-income students and students struggling with poverty to be successful at home and at school. Emotional and social changes. We should keep in mind that many of our low-income students face emotional and social instability. They do not trust us unless we give them the reason to trust us. Children raised in poverty also display acting out behaviors. They are also socially different with gaps in politeness and social graces. They are limited in the range of behavioral responses, inappropriate emotional responses, and less empathetic for others. This is why, as teachers, we should embody respect, social skills, and the ability to be inclusive. Recognizing the signs of acute and chronic stress. Some of these signs include irritability, no pleasure, tiredness, mood changes, and high anxiety. Jensen said, acute stress refers to severe stress resulting from exposure to such trauma as abuse or violence, whereas chronic stress refers to high stress sustained over time. However, many of our students from low-income families can be victims of those kind of stresses. That is why, as teachers, we should recognize the signs, alter our student environments, and most importantly, empower our students to be successful and to be the best version of themselves. Cognitive abilities of our low-income students affect their IQ, achievement test, retention rates, and literacy, as well as their socioeconomic status. Jensen said, the correlations between socioeconomic status and cognitive ability and performance are typically quite significant and persist throughout the stages of development, from infancy through adolescence and into adulthood. As educators, to help our low-income students, we should build core skills, pinpoint assessments, provide hope and support, and most importantly, recruit and train the best staff we can. Health and safety issues. Many of our students who come from poor families are victims of health issues, environmental hazards, malnutrition, injuries, and illness. As teachers, we should be aware of all of these obstacles our students from low-income families face in their everyday life. Thus, we should increase health-related services to them and, if possible, to their families. Chapter 3. Embracing the Mindset of Change. The main focus of Chapter 3 is on how educators can change and have a positive influence on their students' performances, no matter their background, poor or not. According to the text, kids' brains change every day at school, for the good or for the bad. Changes are reflected by their peers and teachers. We also learned that IQ is not a fixed thing and can be influenced by the students' environments. Jensen makes the argument that researchers were wrong to think that people are genetically coded to have a certain level of intelligence, because studies have shown that young students, ages 3 to 4, who are assessed with an IQ test, who were born into poverty, score below average. But when those same students are taken out of poverty and placed into loving homes, their scores are far higher. This means that intelligence is affected by the environment just as much, if not more, than genetics. Jensen describes this phenomenon very well. He says genes provide blueprints, but they are susceptible to environmental and social input. If we accept this idea, then it changes every preconceived notion about education. But first, we must change the way we view poverty by taking these action steps. According to Jensen, schools are moving away from IQ scores to fluid intelligence. The first action step is changing staff members' mindsets. Jensen says that most teachers understand that good teaching can change students, yet some think that IQ is fixed, and slow learners will stay slow. He suggests that educators should brag about students who have beat the odds and provide staff development. Another action step Jensen suggests is to invest in staff. He says to make students the #1 priority, we must first make staff feel included, supported, challenged, and nurtured. They have to feel #1 as well. In the next step, Jensen suggests we must support ongoing collaboration. To do this, we must foster strong staff relationships and team building every single school year. We must help staff get to know each other and show them how to make positive changes in instruction, discipline, and class environments. The last step is to gather quality data. Jensen tells us to assume that we need more useful data than we already have. To do this, we must test students using a quality assessment for processing and sequencing deficits, as well as memory and attention skills to measure strengths and weaknesses. Chapter 4. School-wide Success Factors. In this chapter, Jensen talks about what it takes to make a difference at the school level. In both Chapter 4 and 5, Jensen addresses a set of 5 factors whose first initials spell out the word share and explore each factor within the context of highly successful schools. In Chapter 4, S stands for supporting the whole child. As educators, we should support our students without discrimination in our classroom. Jensen said, when kids are preoccupied with essential safety, relational issues, and cannot focus on academics. That's why it is our job to support our students if we want them to perform better. H stands for hard data. Test data is not enough. We must collect and assess relevant data, customize formative assessment, and become a data-friendly school. Jensen said, a key feature of high-performing schools is an unwillingness to accept state or district tests as the sole measures of achievement. Successful schools generate their own high-quality, useful data on an ongoing basis and provide immediate feedback to both students and teachers. Thus, schools should try not to worry too much about the state and district tests as the main factor of achievement. However, schools should use collected data to help them improve and to reach student goals. I personally think that teachers and schools' achievement should not be based on the results of their students' test scores only. A stands for accountability. We must use the data that we find to set goals and hold staff accountable to reach those goals. According to Jensen, teachers, administrators, and all school staff members should be held accountable for their actions. Jensen said, every teacher is accountable for his or her actions and can be evaluated with quality data. Teachers should stop making excuses and make sure to do their jobs as expected. R is for relationship building. We must be empathetic and available and open enough to form bonds and build relationships among staff and students. This is the part we best connected with in this chapter. It seems obvious, but for kids raised in poverty, it's a make or break factor. We are in full belief that if you treat students with respect, you will get it back. According to the book, many schools rely on power and authority rather than positive relationships to get students to behave or perform well, but this is just wrong. E stands for enrichment. This means create an aesthetic environment inside and outside of the classroom. Get students excited about the future. Go outside. Teach your students about the world around them. Jensen said, your school will get results only when you and your staff shift your collective mindset from those poor kids to our gifted kids. We have to believe in our students and have a positive mindset about them without discrimination. If we believe that our students can, we will work very hard to help them become successful. However, it is very hard to even help them if we cannot believe in them and have a negative mindset. In Chapter 5, Jensen discusses the classroom level success factors for SHARE. This acronym for SHARE stands for Standards-Based Curriculum and Instruction Building, Hope Building, Arts, Athletics, and Advanced Placement, Retooling of the Operating System, and Engaging Instruction. S stands for Standards-Based Curriculum and Instruction. Whether we like it or not, the core standards are here to stay. So, instead of fighting against them, we should find ways to group the standards with our lessons in a meaningful way. If we have a positive outlook at the standards that keeps us accountable, then we can become more excited about teaching, which our students will notice. H stands for Hope Building. Our students are very intuitive about our attitude toward them and our profession. When we are upbeat and believe in them, they feel it. On the other hand, if we are negative about our abilities, then they feel like they cannot do well in our classes. We need to change our outlook to change the environment in our classrooms. Even on days where everything seems to go wrong, we can model to our students that the proverb, when life gets tough, take a breath and keep moving forward with strength and grace. This means giving not only our students grace, but yourself. Let's help to build students who walk with strength and grace through their lives. But how do teachers generate hope? One of the most important concepts in this section is teaching how to make and work toward goals. When students have something to look forward to or work toward, they feel like they have a purpose. Often students from poverty feel hopeless and that life has no purpose. But when we teach them how to make goals and strive for those goals, they find meaning in their lives. A stands for Arts, Athletics, and Advanced Placement. Myth. We need to dumb down the curriculum for students of poverty because they are behind. Absolutely not.